Tonight at 5, full speed ahead. Governor Polis travels to the Springs as the state launches a statewide effort to deliver as many vaccines as possible.
Cost of care. The state wants to save you money every time you go to the pharmacy. We'll explain how it could work.
And a day of sledding at a Denver park ends with tens of thousands of dollars in damage.
This park is on a landfill, and there is asbestos underneath where we stand.
The city is pointing the finger directly at reckless drivers.
This is not acceptable.
First for you at 5, I-25 southbound is closed at Thornton Parkway due to a crash involving several cars. Take a look. This is Air Tracker 7 over the scene now.
We know that Thornton police and fire are both on scene as we speak. We have reached out for more specific information about injuries or how long I-25 might be closed. We're still waiting for information on that, and we will update you as soon as we know more.
Well, during the pandemic, the city of Denver closed several streets to vehicle traffic, making them pedestrian only.
And the day after the big storm, there are a lot of folks who didn't want to walk up to the top of Ruby Hill to go sledding, so they drove instead.
Denver7's Lance Hernandez live at Ruby Hill Park, where the city is now dealing with quite a headache there, Lance.
They really are, Shannon, and you know, some zealous sledders turned this stretch of grass into a roadway on Monday, the day after the big storm, leaving it a muddy mess. What they likely didn't realize is there's a lot of asbestos under Ruby Hill Park because it was built on a landfill.
It's very sad. I try to empathize. I can't. I'm sorry. Park out there and walk in.
The Deputy Executive Director of Denver Parks and Recreation not happy with all the damage done to Ruby Hill Park.
This is not acceptable. This is damaging all of it. They just damaged their own park.
Hundreds of people converged on the park after the big storm to take advantage of the snow-covered hills. The park so packed, there was nowhere to park. So a few people drove around barricades and up onto the grass to get to the top of the hill. No big deal, you say?
This park is on a landfill, and there is asbestos underneath where we stand.
There is so much asbestos under Ruby Hill Park that Denver Parks and Recreation has to get permission before it can even plant a tree. Gilmore estimates it could cost $50,000 to $100,000 to mitigate the asbestos soil.
Some of the soil is going to have to come out. We have to pay extra to just dispose of the soil. And so we'll do the best we can, and the park will, we'll get it back. That's what we do.
He's matter of fact about what needs to be done, but not happy that money will have to be spent in this time of COVID-related budget and staff reductions.
And Mr. Gilmore told me that it could be months before Ruby Hill Park is back to normal. Lance Hernandez, Denver7.
Thank you, Lance. Governor Polis traveled down to Colorado Springs today, where the first of several state-run mass vaccination clinics open.
And he said these sites would be necessary as the federal government started shipping more vaccine to Colorado. The Colorado Springs location is at the Broadmoor World Arena. Will eventually be open 4 days a week, and locations in Grand Junction, Loveland, Pueblo, and Commerce City will all be up and running next week. A vaccination site at Denver's Ball Arena will open in April.
As of tonight, nearly 13% of the whole state is fully vaccinated, and that includes about 4 out of every 5 people over 70. State leaders say they are seeing results from the vaccination effort, and the percentage of people currently infected with the virus has dropped almost 90%.
President Biden says he wants to see more people vaccinated. In an exclusive interview with ABC News, he criticized anti-vaccine culture.
And this sort of macho thing about, I'm not going to get the vaccine, I have a right as an American, my freedom to not do it. Well, why don't you be a patriot, protect other people?
The Biden administration has laid out a simple time frame for the vaccine rollout by May 1st. They want everyone to have access to the vaccine. And by the 4th of July, the president wants to, quote, declare independence from the virus.
State leaders plan to beef up security around the Capitol building, and that includes a big iron fence. The legislature budgeted $1 million toward this 6-foot-tall fence, according to documents obtained by the Denver Post. It's part of an $8 million proposal for work at the Capitol. Most of that money is for security upgrades.
And when Colorado lawmakers came back into session this year, one of their big focuses was helping people reduce the high cost of care.
Well, Denver7 political reporter MEGHAN Lopez live at 5 to talk about their latest efforts to cut drug costs. MEGHAN?
And Shannon, earlier this month, lawmakers introduced a bill that would first study and then try to apply some of their lessons learned when it comes to prescription drug costs and create an accountability board. That bill is in its committee test right now. Now, in the meantime, there is another bill that was unveiled today that really deals with the so-called middlemen when it comes to those prescription drug costs.
Getting to the bottom of prescription drug costs is confusing. We tackled that topic back in December. Basically, there's a lot of hands in the pot, meaning prices keep going up. Pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, are groups that operate between drug manufacturers and your insurance company to negotiate the price of prescription medications. It's also known as rebates that lower the cost of those drugs. They also help establish the list of medications your insurance company will cover. But as prescription prices continue to rise, the effectiveness of these middlemen is being questioned by more and more states, including Colorado.
There's no transparency at all. There's a lot going on with rebates that we can't see.
This is a flawed process. It allows PBMs to pocket a large portion of the negotiated savings instead of passing those savings on to the patients as intended.
So on Wednesday, a bipartisan group of lawmakers unveiled a bill to change the way the state negotiates with these PBMs. It's called a reverse auction, where PBMs would compete with one another for state insurance contracts.
Well, normally, when the state would put out a bid, we might only get one bid back, and we don't necessarily know if we're getting the best price.
Under the new plan, the lowest bidder wins. Maryland, New Hampshire, and New Jersey have already passed laws like this, and New Jersey claims it will save the state $2.5 billion over 5 years. Under this bill, only state employees would benefit, but if it goes well,
we hope over time, county, municipality, and private employers will also be able to take advantage of this reverse auction process.
The bill already has bipartisan support. We'll follow it through the legislative process and keep you up to date.
And we reached out to an association that represents those pharmacy benefit managers, and in a statement they said, quote, "It is vitally important that the tools used by PBMs to lower prescription drug costs, such as home delivery of medications and pharmacy networks, are not restricted. When PBM tools are restricted, drug costs increase." They went on to say that PBMs are really the only ones within that drug supply chain that are fighting to lower prescription costs, and that they've saved Coloradans $16 billion over the past decade. I'm live, Megan Lopez, Denver7.
Thank you, Megan. The Asian American community is in mourning and feeling stunned tonight after a shooting rampage in Atlanta, Georgia. Police say 21-year-old Robert Long admitted to the shootings at 3 massage spas in the metro Atlanta area. 8 people died. 6 of the victims were Asian women. Now, authorities aren't yet saying the motive. Police are saying the gunman blamed the massage spas themselves.
He apparently has an issue, what he considers a sex addiction, and sees these locations as something that allows him to go to these places, and it's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate.
We know that many of the victims, the majority of the victims, were Asian. We also know that this is an issue that's happening across the country.
Now, the gunman is expected in court tomorrow, and leaders in the Asian American community say his stated motive doesn't matter, since it is contributing to fear in a population that already is well aware of a rise in hate crimes.
Aurora Mayor Mike Coffman is suing Aurora. In a complaint, he says the city's new campaign finance laws are an effort to, quote, shut him up. The new rules prevent the mayor and members of city council from campaigning on behalf of other candidates or for ballot initiatives. Coffman says that's a free speech violation. He wants to be able to campaign on behalf of a former staffer in the next council election. Other councilors told the Aurora Sentinel that the mayor is wasting time and money on this lawsuit instead of focusing on real issues.
State avalanche investigators will be allowed to testify at the trial of 2 men accused of causing a Keystone avalanche last year. The state attorney general tried to block their testimony. The AG said it may make it harder for avalanche investigators to do their job in the future if people think those investigators will turn over information to police. Well, today a judge ruled against the AG, and those investigators will be eligible to testify.
Temperature's still a bit cool today, but there's much warmer weather on the way.
Plus, the IRS plans to push back tax day.
And as Denver celebrates a second St. Patrick's Day during the pandemic, we're talking to one Irish pub eager to rebound.
2019, we probably ordered somewhere between 120 and 150 kegs of Guinness. This year, 12,